How's it going, everybody? Brett Medlag here today with my good friend Brett Larsen, who is your first time appearing on this channel. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
It is. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, so I wanted to talk about one of my favorite games of last year that I feel like got criminally overlooked, even though, I mean, it's sold over 1 million units, so that's pretty cool. But I think it got a little overlooked because there was just so much last year in terms of amazing games. At least I thought so.
No, it absolutely was one of the most underrated games of the year for last year, especially coming off a year like Nintendo had. I mean, they really brought it last year. A lot of people don't really talk about it. We've kind of discussed this and talked about how we thought for as many great games as there were, I think Nintendo kind of won the console war last year.
Yeah, I mean, they had Fire Emblem Three Houses, which was amazing. Astral Chain was amazing. Then they had like smaller ones like Marvel Ultimate Alliance that I really liked.
And they had mixed in, they had Link's Awakening. And for me, I really loved Luigi's Mansion too. That was one, I think it was later in the year.
Yes.
But it was just such a fun little game. They had a fantastic year.
Yeah.
But honestly, right at the top of the list, now I didn't play Fire Emblem Three Houses, but right at the top of the list was Astral Chain for me. I absolutely adored this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the top of my list too. I think it gets overlooked in a few areas that I actually really liked, which was the story, which I thought was really enthralling. It's very anime-ish, but I thought it worked, and I would love to see more of those characters, more of that world. I'm surprised that this didn't get picked up as like an anime or anything, because I thought it was really good. What about you?
No, I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if they continued this in some kind of episodic type of thing, whether it be an anime or a cartoon or something. The characters were fun. The world was really cool. Like you said, I'm surprised how underappreciated this game really was. It was such a good pickup.
Dude, visually
Fantastic. No, when I first picked this game up, one of the first experiences I had was I turned it on, and the Switch isn't known for having amazing graphics, compared to the other two systems.
Yeah.
And the very opening scene, I remember texting you and going, dude, are you kidding me? This looks incredible.
Dude, I swear it's one of the best looking games of last year. It is gorgeous. The attention to detail and the environments is great. The open world sections where you're walking around, the cities look really nice. The artistic vision for the game is just immaculate. And I have never actually seen anything like it before.
No, and what was impressive to me as well is sometimes you expect to see a little bit of a drop off when you go from docked mode to handheld mode, but it didn't matter whether I was on my 55-inch at the time or in my bed. I still was just impressed by this visually. And, it goes way beyond the visuals, too. This is just an awesome game. I mean, the gameplay, and I truly mean it when I say this, it has some of the most satisfying combat I've ever experienced in a game in my entire life.
Yes, and who would have thought that would have worked? Using two different characters at the same time. It was so satisfying.
Yes, it really was.
And on top of having amazing combat, it had those sections where you enter the quantum realm or something like that. That's not what it was called, but
yeah, it was like the astral.
Yeah, the astral plane.
Astral Plane. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it's called. I should have known that based on the title of the game. But yeah, you go into there and it actually has really awesome puzzles. It's almost like a Zelda game when you get in there.
Yeah, and that's kind of for me what separated it. It had these great visuals. It had this really tight, addicting combat. But what was cool about it is you collect these what are called legions along the way, which are like these creatures, and each one of them has different abilities. And not only are you using these abilities in combat, but you also have to know which creature has, or which legion, I should say, has which ability, because that's going to help you progress through certain puzzles or through certain parts of the game, too. They just did a really good job of thinking out the entire game, and it was a really smart game. I loved how it made you think about which legion you had to use at different parts of the game.
Definitely. I seriously think it hit every single note it tried to hit in terms of story, combat, puzzles, visuals, all 10 out of 10 in my eyes.
It did, absolutely. And for me, this kind of put Platinum on my map personally. I know that they've had several great games. I am guilty by saying I've never played a Bayonetta game. And I did play
Shame
the Nier
on you.
Automata. I know. And I'm going to. I really am. That's definitely on my radar, and I've been meaning to do. But they have built up a good reputation, but for me, they had not been on the map yet until I played this. I tried Nier Automata, or Automata, however you say that, And it was good, it just didn't click for me. But this totally changed my mindset on Platinum games going forward. It makes me actually want to go back and play the Nier game into succession and complete it and play those Bayonetta games as well.
Yeah, I definitely recommend going back and finishing Nier, because a lot of people think it doesn't really pick up until after you beat the first campaign, and then there's 2 or 3 more after that where the story really picks up and it gets really good. But also definitely play Bayonetta 2, which I love that game.
And it has some of the, from what I've seen on the trailers and stuff, it kind of looks like it has similar combat. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's different. I mean, it's similar in the way that it's an action game, but the way you do things is pretty different, because in Astral Chain you're using your Legion, and that's kind of like the focus, and then your guy, you're kind of just like timing your attacks while you attack with your Legion, which it's very simple in concept, but when you're actually doing it, it feels like, I don't know, it feels natural, feels cool.
It does, and for as complex as this sound, and it can be, it's some pretty deep combat as far as knowing which Legion to use on the right enemies. It really is simple too. Like, I never felt overwhelmed. And there's some pretty crazy, massive bosses you have to fight in this game, but I never had that sense of dread, like, oh no, I don't know how I'm going to get past this part.
Yeah, the challenge was great.
The challenge was good, and just the fact that it was so fun to play, it made going through a boss fight just very seamless.
Yeah, and just so damn stylish, dude. The game just looks so good. Like that cannot be overstated. This game is gorgeous. Definitely one of the best looking Switch games that there is.
It is.
I would say literally the one thing that got to me, and this is a strange one, was that the main protagonist didn't talk, but the character has like a sister or a brother based on who you choose, and that sister or brother will talk to you, but not the one that you're playing as. The one that you don't choose will talk. So we know both the characters were voiced, but one of them doesn't talk based on who you choose. So that confused me a bit.
It was so strange. And you just said it yourself. Like, we know the voice actors did the work for the female and the male protagonist, so why not just make them both be able to talk back and forth? Literally the one swing and a miss I think they had was the main character not being able to talk.
Yeah, because he had no personality at all.
At all. I mean, literally, he didn't say anything back, he or she, depending on who you were. And the one thing that made me kind of think they had a swing and a miss on this is I just recently went back and played Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and the communication back and forth and the dialogue back and forth between the brother and the sister, and that was so good, and it was so fun, and it was so like they took little jabs at each other.
Yes, it's great.
And I feel like it could have been the same thing with Astral Chain. But again, not the end of the world. It was just one of those things. It was kind of a head scratcher where they did the voice acting. Why didn't they just have the main character talk?
Yeah, exactly. And that's a really good comparison because they're brother and sister in Syndicate as well. And you play as both of them.
Yes.
So yeah, that's literally my only complaint. Otherwise, if you haven't played Astral Chain, definitely play it. I think it's one of the Nintendo Switch's best games and one of the best exclusives on the console. I don't know if it will continue to be an exclusive forever. I assume sooner or later it'll make it somewhere else, but that might not have been in the deal. I'm pretty sure Nintendo published it, but I don't know.
I kind of hope it stays here. I feel like this is a good home for it. And I have to say, if you're a Switch owner, you really need to play this game. I mean, you don't have to be a fan of action games or a fan of any certain type or style of game. It's such a good game. You really need to pick it up.
Definitely. And it might be off-putting at first because you're controlling 2 different people on the battlefield, but I promise you, once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun and so satisfying. The level design is good. The sound design, we didn't even talk about the music, was super good. It went with the visuals so well.
Oh my gosh. The music is amazing.
Yeah, everything. The story, I don't want to spoil anything. If you listen to this channel or watch this channel, you know I don't like diving deep into story stuff because I feel like everything's better when you know as little as possible jumping into a game like this. And lastly, another element that I really liked was the detective stuff where you're basically going around the city trying to figure out some big crimes, some smaller crimes. There's a lot of cool and interesting stuff in this section of the game. And once again, I feel like it gets overlooked. There's not a lot of people actually talking about that element, whereas I actually really liked it a lot.
Yes. 100%.
Plus, it really helps a lot with the pacing of the game. You're doing more exploring and talking to people. It's not just action the entire time. It seems like Platinum has been experimenting a lot more with their games, introducing different elements, especially with Nier Automata and Astral Chain. I hope they continue to try and do new things because I've been liking a lot of the directions they've been taking.
100%.
So experience this game. Thanks a lot for watching. Brett, thanks a lot for hanging out. We'll have to have you on this channel again in the future.
It was a pleasure.
And we will talk to you guys later. See ya.
Bye.